Your timing was right off.
Oh, really? Oh.
I left to go to the barn to feed the animals, and when I came back, supper was on the table. I came downstairs, and you had called a minute after I left, and 2 minutes before I came back down.
I don't know. I have bad luck or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're here now.
Yeah, I'm here now. Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah, it's interesting when you look up the words.
Yeah.
You'll just have like a post and just have like a whole list of words. Cause I'm reading your older posts. Like I haven't been reading the more recent ones. I guess in a sense I'm like stuck in your past. You know.
That's the way it's supposed to be. That's where I began.
Yeah. And when you look up the definitions, like one, you had afar, Djibouti, faith, family. And you look up family. Here's a paragraph. I was reading this in the definition. It said, on the other hand, family structures or its internal relationships may affect both state and religious institutions. J.F. Del Giorgio, and the oldest Europeans, points out that the high status of women among the descendants of post-glacial Paleolithic European population was coherent with the fierce love of freedom of pre-Indo-European tribes. He believes that the extraordinary respect for women in those families meant that children raised in such atmospheres tended to distrust strong authoritarian leaders. According to Del Giorgio, European democracies have their roots in these ancient ancestors.
That's why the priests had to work hard to destroy the women.
Yeah. And here's another one. And the definition of the father, they say that the father is often seen as an authority figure. According to Deleuze, the father authority exercises repression over sexual desires. A common observation among scholars is that the authority of the father and of the political leader are closely intertwined, that there is a symbolic identification between domestic authority and national political leadership. Wow. I never thought it was that deep rooted. Like,
that's what happens when you start breaking down words, and especially silly balls.
Yeah. yeah, and that's why I guess they call them symbols, right? Yeah, and I've been looking, and this is taking me to like in Africa.
Yeah.
The whole I was reading something on the Eritrea area.
Eritrea.
Yeah, Eritrea. They're like herders who basically go around. And you said something about.
If you look at Eritrea on the map, it's shaped like the Little Dipper.
Oh.
A long handle and a dipper, and it's leaning on the Red Sea.
Yeah. And with the words too, like I find it interesting. You pointed out too, PH. You'll see that philosopher, PhD, and then who let the dogs out? Hewlett Packard. I guess with the HP computer. What was his role? I guess with that, lighting out. With I guess coming out with that. I guess that was more of like to watch people or monitor people.
Who?
The Hewlett Packard. Because he's the HP. That's the computer.
Computer, but they were scientific computers. So they were basically the priests' machines, because the priests were the scientists before universities went public. And HP is the number 16. If you lean the P against the H, you have 1 6. Got to flip it over.
Yeah, and with that
16 is sweet 16. It's
and when you sound it out, it's fa, right? And one of those words is Fatima, right? And I looked up the definition, and all people named Fatima, all types of people. I was surprised. I didn't like I found one. It was one place called Our Lady of Fatima, and it's Muhammad's daughter. Then you have Fatima Bhutto. Fatima Blush is a character in the Bond movie, and then she seeks to dominate all males in her life. And I'm just seeing this little links with everything, and it's also a short story by Rudyard Kipling, another Mason.
Mhm.
And I thought that was interesting to me. What's your address? Because I just bought the thing, money order, and I want to make sure this is your right address. It says apply Canadian Institute for Political Integrity, CO Glen Kealey, National President, Glen CIPI Kealey at Netscape.net.
That's no longer my email address.
Is it the P.O. Box 774?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just Netscape that canceled my email when I wouldn't stop sending out stuff that they didn't like. I told them that their name was linked to Escape, and that you can't escape them on the net.
Yeah. Yeah, the funny thing about the net too, like, a net's, a spider's web, and you get stuck on the web,
Absolutely, it's a thing that catches people and won't let them go where they want to go, and won't let them do what they want to do, and they have to sit there and wait till they die.
Wow, that's a correctly chosen name for the whole system. And I heard too that www in Greek letters is 666, and no man shall be able to buy or sell without that beast, they say. So and I noticed with E too, like everything with E in the language is like
E is the most used letter in the English language.
Yeah, like
and it's 3 in 1.
Yeah, that's why they name you, right? And you look at name backwards as E-Man, 3 in 1 man, or when you the symbolic tie you put around your neck and it's a Y, and you put that backwards as E 3 in 1 it, I guess you call it.
It's designed on the family. You've got a bar at the bottom that holds things up, the child in the middle, the mother at the top, and they're all held together by a job and a house and religion.
Yeah, that's what they were saying in the family. Like, that's what kind of got me mad. Like,
and what they do is they take the male from the bottom and send him out to war, and you leave an F, and all the weight's at the top, and an F falls over. So a family is designed to crumble as soon as they act by sending men off to war.
Yeah, like when I was looking at the definition of family, it said it's just to keep the system going. That's the main function of a family.
Nail in the foot.
Yeah.
Run around in circles, but you can't leave. Hang around the house till the kids are grown up, at least.
I was looking. I was reading that thing too on what you were saying about Francis Bacon.
Yeah.
And he had I knew he founded the Rosicrucian Society, but he said they said that he founded the speculative Mason. What's speculative Masonry? What is that?
Well, Masons are people who work in stone. Speculative Masons are people who work in words.
And the whole thing with, because I'm always hearing about these different, like, they're different bloodlines and Egyptian, but I've never, what you mentioned a lot in the older ones is the Basque, and I looked up the Basque people. They're like a separate people. They have their own language, everything, and they're like in Spain, like almost like type of Spain.
Their separatist movement is called ETA.
Yeah.
And ETA is estimated time of arrival, and the English call it T. If you look at the symbolic versions of letters in the alphabet when they're put in the symbol side, there are only 3 letters that are printed upside down as well as right side up. ETA. When Jacques Cartier left France to come to Canada, and is like our Christopher Columbus. He's supposedly the first guy to visit Canada. Well, in reality, when he arrived at the Gulf of St. Lawrence, there were 1,000 Basque fishing vessels fishing there. So they already knew where Canada was. They knew where the United States was. Nobody was lost. The Indians didn't feel lost. They had been around for a while. They had been dropped off, marooned is what they called it, by the Phoenicians many, many years before.
You was talking about like that. Where are the Basques? Like you said in Grand Orient Freemasonry, it creates a type of elitism in that. What?
They are in the Pyrenees, and that's the mountain range between Spain and France. And it's inside the mountain range that they had a lab for genetic engineering and a lab to make priests for the Vatican, where they were taught languages. There are over 6,000 versions of the language using the Roman characters. Each little group that was marooned was given a different version so that they could be traced to where they came from. But the entire language has to have one thing in common. Phonetics. Priests that understood phonetics could go along with the soldier and within a day or so learn to talk with the native people.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's in that movie. They hint at it, and it's called Stargate.
Yeah.
In the movie Stargate, and the guy, it was supposedly like a dialect of Egyptian, and he just learned it for a few hours because he knew all the basic groundwork, I guess, of the language. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I watched that movie you told me to watch, The Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I see a lot of the symbology they use was a lot more relevant, prevalent in the movie than the more recent one, because they kept using the Lesenge, Queen of Diamonds, and all these other little hallmarks they have in there. Yeah, I thought it was.
That movie was made for release and was held back because it coincided with the Kennedy assassination.
Oh.
So they only released it a year or two after, but it was supposed to be released just at the same time. They figured that it would confuse a lot of people, and they wouldn't believe there was a lone assassin. But in fact, the whole thing is a mirror image of reality. It is physically impossible for an individual to murder a president.
Yeah.
With 3,000 security guards all the time. What is very easy to do is for the president to murder the citizens of his country, orders them into war, puts them in position of danger, cuts their income, makes deals with the bankers, everything to cause the citizen stress. Because only stressed out people can be managed.
Yeah. So these guys, these Basque, are they like high on the pyramid or something?
BAS, skull and bones. QUE, Quebec.
Oh yeah, there's another one you were pointing out. All the Q's in the language.
Yeah.
I didn't look that up yet. Still have it.
Q is the egg, with the spear piercing it to open it up.
Yeah, I think I seen somebody else point that out too. That's interesting.
And you have some fancy Q's that shows the bar at the bottom going inside the egg, making a wave and coming back out again. And that's symbolic of the Neanderthalers going underground and then sending back the Roma above ground, and then they go out in space. That's why the line stretches out from the Q itself.
Yeah, I want to learn more about these Roma. If I want to learn more about them, do I have to look into
you
history?
Look up the word gypsy.
Oh, okay.
Look up the word wanderers.
Oh.
Wanderers is basically made out of DNA, A-N-D. W means create, A-N-D, 2-2.
2-2. I've seen that Y2Ks with the mirrored Ks with an I going down the middle.
Bishop Tutu, South Africa.
Oh.
The seconds. They were the second made, and they were second put out after the Ice Age.
Yeah. In that movie, Stargate, the guy who was one character who was supposedly he was the god, and his name was Ra, whatever. But when you look at him closely, he's looks like both a male and a female.
Yeah.
And Dustin, you mentioned something like that in your other article. With I think her name was Hepsimatut.
Yeah, Hatchetput.
Yeah, and this
Hatchetsup.
Yeah, Hatshepsut. Yeah. Amen to the virgin hermaphrodite was the that's that Pharaoh. It goes that Pharaoh again. Yeah. Pharaoh. And you said hat means brother in the coding, secret coding. Spoken by Mormons in Utah. So what's that? You brother?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's interesting. But yeah.
Utah has hat backwards. That's why you've got symbolic hats, mostly with Lincoln.
That's another thing too. Lincoln in that movie, Manchurian Candidate, kept pointing out Lincoln, and he kept putting his face there. Yeah. It was symbolic of something. And
assassinations.
Yeah. And one costume that the mother wore, she was like a shepherd.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So yeah, I see when I look around. I really see that. Now I understand.
As soon as you grasp the premise,
Mm-hmm.
everything starts to fall into place.
Yeah. I wish it could happen. It's just, I feel like I'm running out of time. And,
You are. You
I'm
have more time than I do, but we are running out of time.
Okay. And it's just like I can't read every book under the sun. I'm trying to, but I can't. I'm trying to catch up.
March is the feast of lotteries,
Mm-hmm.
as far as the Jewish people are concerned,
Mm-hmm.
because it's the approach to Easter that comes in April. Easter is based upon another female male made and put into Persian king's entourage. Esther became one of the Persian king's females that he could choose to marry or not. Called it a harem.
A harem?
She was Jewish
Mm-hmm.
and wasn't supposed to tell him. But then she found out that the prime minister was going to kill the Jews. So she went to him, and he had fallen in love with her and said he'd give her anything she wanted. When she told him, stop your prime minister from killing the Jews, the Persian king did stop him. He hung the prime minister's 10 sons, replaced him in his job with Esther's uncle, who basically became the prime minister. And Jews wrote a festival based on the work of Esther. It's basically the lottery that chance allowed them to survive because they had Esther within the king's hearing. And they celebrate that 13th, 14th, 15th of March. Mm-hmm. In their calendar, it works out to something like 1st, 2nd, 3rd of March in ours. So if you're going to buy a ticket, mm-hmm. they probably don't rig the sale of lottery tickets in that month, and you have a chance of winning something. But then the next month is the month of fools. All the people believe in the bullshit of religion and politics and everything. Dangerous day in that month will be April 13th,
yes.
Which is the Ides in April.
Mm. Yeah, that's the same thing. That's related to September 11th. That fell in the Ides.
Yeah.
December.
The word dies.
Oh. Yeah.
Has been scrambled.
Mm.
And April 13th is Easter Monday. Mm-hmm. And it's Easter and Esther is basically the same word with just a couple of letters in there switched around, A and T. It is really the story in the Bible of the DNA of Jesus mm-hmm. being transferred from one sucker to another.
Yeah, you said Jesus J is like I suck or
if you read it in French, it's je suis.
Yeah.
And je suis means I suck. And he passes his DNA on to what became Mary Magdalene, who was a prostitute, and male, female, because it's Jesus and Mary combined in the story, made up by the Essenes. Magdalene, lean at the end, comes from the French laine. Laine means wool. Wool was born by the Essenes. They had a custom where they had to wear woolen underpants, not allowed to ever take them off.
Mormons do that too, I think, right?
They have some other thing they wear on their leg underneath their clothes.
Yeah, one thing that you had me confused, like, 'cause I see, like, maybe you see it in a different light or something, but you were saying the U.S. military is going to go against these. I
said the U.S. military is the only group that is physically able to confront the Neanderthals. Didn't say they would. I said they're the only ones who could.
Yeah.
In order to confront them, they would need 2,000 bunker busters, nuclear bunker busters, because there are 2,000 cone volcanoes that are extinct on the planet. And were you to shoot down each one simultaneously, you would crack the planet. So the U.S. military could, in fact, say to the Neanderthals, look, you've killed 1 billion people in phase 1. If you continue doing this, you're going to kill all the people on the planet, including us. Well, we're not going without a fight.
Oh, just kill everybody.
So if you're going to go to phase 2, we'll go to our nuclear bunker buster phase, and you won't need to worry about phase 3 because we'll all be dead.
Oh, this is what psychopaths do, you know. Just when they feel they can't control everything, they'll press the button and just kill everybody off.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
That's how the war with Russia got turned around. When Russia began using nuclear weapons, the U.S. started a race, an arms race.
Yeah, but I heard the whole race was really just to step up the technology. It wasn't really, maybe on the low levels they thought it was like competition.
What it was a monetary race. If you looked at the economy of the U.S. and compared it to the economy of Russia, they never had a chance because they could never spend the kind of money that the U.S. could spend. Think of what the U.S. is spending now in its support for banks and money handed out for one thing or another to airlines and car manufacturers and everything. I mean, the economy of the U.S. was to the 13 to 15 trillion dollars, whereas the economy of Russia was probably not even 1 trillion.
Yeah, but I did like a little research in that. Like the U.S. funded Russia. We supported Russia. We.
You got to remember that the U.S. is not in charge.
Oh yeah.
Canada is in charge. people who run the U.S. have to get permission from Canada.
Oh.
Barack Obama came to Ottawa this week because he had to be knighted.
Oh, really?
And that was the reason they met in the afternoon. And the queen that knighted him is your fellow countryman, our Governor General. Her name is Michelle Jean. He's from Haiti.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I heard of her.
And she's got a symbolic husband who basically provides cover for her. But she, in fact, is right up there among the male females.
Oh, man. Her name says it, too. Michelle Jean.
And she spells it Michael, not like Michelle. She adds the A in the middle to make it Michael, L-E at the end.
Is she gonna laugh when you hear this? Like, I think about like my father's name. Yeah. His name is
And Haiti, of course, is the poorest country in the world.
Yeah. I heard they were eating mud cakes and crazy out there. We can't even go there to visit.
It's hell.
Yeah.
In the Bible, it's referred to as Hades.
Yeah. And I think this is a preview of what the whole world's gonna see.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like my father's name, you look at his name, it's actually Jean Rene.
Yeah. Well, Jean, the capital J, if you put another capital J upside down on it, and it closes it up and makes the letter D.
Yeah.
So it's the secret way of saying Dean.
Oh. Okay.
And in English, they call it John because when you're doing what you want done, they use the term caca. So a John is where you go.
Yeah.
To caca.
Yeah. I look at my name too, like my last name. It's really Masonic. It's actually Guillaume. So, yeah. And I know Guillaume is William. Yeah. Will I am, right?
Yeah.
But
call me Bill for short.
Oh man.
Be ill.
Yeah. So I know, like, I don't know. So maybe, like, if maybe I could just track it and because I hope that because you said like we're all genetically engineered and you find out what your program was. Like, well, I don't want to find out like my program is something that I wouldn't personally agree with or something like.
Well, it's certainly not something you would agree with. I don't think that the system starts off with people who agree with them. Yeah. That's why they have to program them. Yeah. To make sure that they don't will their own will, but will the system's will.
Mm. Oh, so, like...
Will I am... I am is the short way of saying friend. I am friend because ami is friend in French.
And I thought it was I am saying I am God, or another way.
Well, you are. Everybody on the planet is Jesus. We suck. We're suckers. We accept their view of things, and we're about to be crucified. Right now, we happen to be going through the Passion. All of this credit crunch and climate change and colony collapse is all part of this Passion that they're putting us through before the crucifixion. And when we're dead, they want to revive us again. The word is resurrect, Rezu, Ruse, Rek, Zion. Resurrect Zion.
Yeah, and when you look at like
Zion is the number 10 in the middle of two letters that say change direction.
Yeah, and I heard another meaning of Zion was the first two letters came from Sin, which was the moon, and On, which is the sun, and that's the hermaphrodite. I guess two opposites. I guess that's a lower level, or just another interpretation of it.
Well, there's also a definition that says SI is short for EC in French, which means here, and ON is the new original. So they've started a new phase, and that's the original.
Yeah, I see that, like, on my job. I see these little codings in the word, like, they have a beer that they sell. It's called Bass.
Yeah.
And then they underline ass on purpose. So I guess, I don't know, you have to be an ass to drink it, but I guess that also means the message. And one that really gets me, one beer, they're all pretty Masonic, all of them, but one beer that in particular, it's called Samuel Adams. And that name, I know, Samuel, I know it has the mass and something, I'm not sure. The message it's saying, or something, I'm not sure what it means, but I thought I did, but
An ass is a message carrier.
Yeah.
You're the message carrier.
Oh man. Yeah. And when these syllables you're saying, all these letters in the alphabet, you said they're philosopher's stone. So that's what it was all symbolic for, because when you look up philosopher's stone, it said it actually talked like it's something tangible that you can see in front of you, like a real stone, but it was symbolic for letters.
Yeah.
Oh.
You assemble them together and you make walls, and then more walls make a fort, and buildings and skyscrapers.
Yeah, it's crazy with the word, the language. Like even on the internet, you see most people are just they're all arguing with each other. It's all egos arguing with each other. Yeah. But it's all because of the words, because the spoken or the written word is so powerful. Can make can make or break somebody, I guess.
The English language was written so that each word can be interpreted in more ways than one.
Yeah.
And that gives the power to the system, because they appoint a judge. The judge reinterprets what he reads based on who he wants to win and who he wants to lose.
And
two
everybody
people can go in with the same argument in 2 different weeks, and one will win and one will lose. One's a Mason, one's not.
Have you ever looked into is that it with the Jewish law? I guess they call it the Babylonian law.
Babylon is where they were taken in the year 986. And they were, 586. They were kept in 586 till 537. 49 years, I think it was. And they were retrained. 2 generations were retrained into Zoroastrian thinking, and then brought back, and they told people they were coming back with the Jewish law, but what in fact they came back with was Zoroastrian law. The ruse.
Zoroastrian. That guy Zoroaster. He started the whole good deity, bad deity way of thinking.
The guy that led them on the trip back to Israel was called Zorobabel.
Oh, really?
Captain Zorobabel.
Oh, I'm going to look up that name. Zorobabel. Because you always refer to this, like the system, like Zoroastrian, Zorobabel, Basque. These guys have like thousands of names.
Yeah, and the word Zorro is the word ruse.
Yeah, ruse.
Phonetically speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that reminds me of a movie I seen. It's called Silent Flute, Circle of Iron. And it was written by Bruce Lee, and I know his name has the ruse in it, and the male-female double E's in there. Yeah. And they show you the whole Zen philosophy in there. And really, when I see all this Zen philosophy, like all these religions, you see that denominator. You always see that Gnostic belief, where this is the material world, and the spiritual world, and all this type of stuff. Yeah.
Societies are there for a purpose.
Yeah.
That's to divide in order to conquer. They seek out the people that have the leadership qualities, and they separate them from the rest of the gang, and they bribe and blackmail them. So they work against the majority and for the minority. And after a while, they started making them instead of just waiting to discover them. So now they can make 5 or 6 for each appointment, and by the time they grow up, find out which one is still alive and which one is the best for the task at hand. And that's, George Bush and John Kerry, 2 competitors with the same credentials for the same job. It took the judges in the Supreme Court to make the final decision between the 2 of them.
Yeah, with George Bush, I was talking with my friend last night. This guy, he was a really good actor. He really played the part of being an idiot.
Yeah.
Everybody believed it.
Yeah.
And they even took it so far. He's making shirts of, fuck Bush, and I'm looking at this. So everybody was like people who, I guess you call them the conspiracy world. They all went along with it.
Yeah. The media suckers them all, and they all fall for it.
Yeah.
Everything is produced by the middleman, whose job it is to polarize.
Yep. They polarize everything, and that's what you just said earlier. That I never looked at it that way. That's the perfect polarization. You
need a savior. You got to polarize people first.
Yeah.
You got to make one person hated. Yeah. I mean, how could anybody believe that a guy who's the president of the United States is so stupid that he goes out of his way to make sure everything he does pisses them off?
Yeah.
Nobody grasps the idea that this is choreographed. Silly people.
Wow, man. But yeah, with the...
Hang on, I got to throw a log in my fire here. Yeah, I live in the basement, and I call it my cave. And I heat it with a wood stove.
Oh, you got a wood stove?
Yeah.
I guess you save more money that way, or?
Well, we have 34 acres on the farm. And when you have 34 acres, there always are trees that are dying all the time. And if you leave them where they fall, well, it makes a mess. So I try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, clean up the dead trees, and then use them in the winter for firewood. They're they're not basically hardwood, so it's not the best of firewood. Burns too fast. But it's cheaper than buying, and has to be done to clean the place up anyways.
Oh, the nature. I've been analyzing nature. I look for what I could see, and I see like how these people in their system, they try to emulate nature.
Yeah.
I was just looking the other day, like at a whole bunch of seagulls and birds, and how they all seem to be moving in one direction. They'll all post up, like when it's raining, they'll all sit on the lawn, on the lawn.
Yeah.
It just all like, and that's what you're seeing when you look at an army.
Did you ever see the movie Jonathan Livingston Seagull? Got to see that.
I'll go see that one.
They follow boats out in the ocean who are fishing and throwing the scraps overboard. Jonathan's a guy like you. He's a seagull, and all of a sudden he realizes that following fishing boats and eating their garbage is a boring way to spend one's life. Besides that, he wants to be different. His parents give him shit. Why can't you be like all the others and do what you're told? But he wants to fly. He wants to fly higher and fly faster. Tries and fails and crashes and picks himself up and tries again, and parents give him hell, and first thing you know, he's the fastest flying bird in the flock. and other young birds start to follow him. He's more interested in how fast he can go. And then he comes across this girlfriend that he hangs out with, and they come across a teacher, old seagull. Seagull teaches him a lesson. He said, flying, Jonathan, flying fast is just a number. There always will be a bigger number. You want to learn to fly fast, Jonathan, must begin by believing you have already arrived. Perfect speed in flying, Jonathan, is being there. That's what you have to learn. That you have already arrived. What that means is when you want to be something, you have to act like you already were. May not be able to carry every aspect of the thing, but you can, in fact, be mentally in the place you want to be before you physically arrive. I was a serviceman for an international duplicator company. I wanted to be the president. So, taking the lesson from Jonathan Livingston Seagull, I started to think like the president. A president basically looks at the bigger picture, not just at his job. I started to deal with the people around me basically using the pattern of the next job above me. First thing I know, when there was an opening in sales, they said, why do we have Kealey in service when he really acts like a salesman? So they made me a salesman. Then I began to act like the sales manager.
Mm-hmm.
And then I began to act like the president.
Mm-hmm.
The president said to me, there's only one president, and I'm it. You can't be president. I said, I know that. That's why I'm here. I'm here to resign because I'm going off to be the president. I want what you have, and you're not about to leave. And I went out and I opened my own company and became the president. Then along the way, I discovered that president was not really what I wanted to be. What I wanted to be was more teacher. And the only reason I didn't want to be the teacher is because there was no money in it. Mm-hmm. Until, as the president of my company, I was approached by a politician who asked me for a bribe on behalf of the Prime Minister and the cabinet, and I refused to pay. I knew the consequences would be that they would do what they needed to do to shut down my business. So I basically decided then, well, here's my opportunity to teach. But before I teach, I have to learn what I'm going to teach.
So you already thought yourself as being a teacher.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's with this. There's this big movement. Like when you go in the bookstores, and you'll see all over stores, this how to become successful, visualize it, and all these, just think positive, and all these type of things. And that's all, And I look at it all like it's like
positive thinking is not the first step.
Mm-hmm.
The first step is you have to remove the negative. Because just positive thinking makes you walk around in a dream.
Yeah.
You have to begin by finding out what's preventing the things from being what they should be. And until that problem is tackled, the rest of it is irrelevant.
Yeah.
You see, they consider success as being wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Been there, done that, don't care for the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Wealthy means you're constantly trying to figure out who's stealing from you and how you can hang on to things. and you go to bed at night half drunk or half stupid,
mm-hmm.
And you get sick from stress. So to be successful to me is basically to be on your journey, not anybody else's journey for you,
mm-hmm.
on your own journey.
Yeah.
And that does not mean that there has to be tons of money. You adjust your living standards to be in balance with your journey. I basically said, hey, if I do what I want to do,
mm-hmm.
people will want to know why I'm doing it. And I'll be a teacher. And what I did was I went to Parliament Hill, and I set up Parliament Hill within 50
meters of the door, and I began to ask the Prime Minister. Here in Canada, we're a lot closer to the door than you are in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he'd get out of the car, when was he going to stop stealing?
Wow.
And once he even came over and kind of bumped me to see if I would react, because his security people would have jumped me. Yeah, I just stood there, and he walked away, and one of the security people later on came, "You're really getting on his nerves. He's asking us now to come through the back door instead of the front door." And I said, "Well, that's where they put the garbage." And I expected I'd be there just for a short while, but there for 3 years.
Wow.
1,000 days. But in the end, I had people who were asking me to address their group, whether it was a social activist group or a church group or union hall or whatever. And I was basically telling them the story of why I was on Parliament Hill and what had occurred, and that I wanted to hear from them if they had experiences that I could learn from. 10 years of that, I came to be what I wanted to be. Teacher learns not just by the things he investigates, but he also learns from the students by the questions they ask. So I'm not simply doing you a favor by talking to you. I'm also learning.
Yeah, because you get to see different points of view.
Yeah. Not just from one person, but it's all of the people. Each one approaches the problem differently. I become the common denominator of hearing all of these versions. That is helpful in learning the things I teach.
Yeah, because I guess I do. Like when I interpret what I'm learning from you, I might sound different, and that's the thing. When I learn this stuff from you, like with other people, because I speak to other people who, they've glanced at your work and they say things. Well, he's making no sense. This guy is leading you on, and I'm just like, I guess that's from not they're just used to everything being laid out for them, that type of style, and they don't just go look into it and actually do a little bit of legwork, I guess, and you'll see for yourself.
40-second sound bites is what they want. That's not learning. That's programming.
Yeah.
Learning is basically digging, mining, so you get the real meaning of things.
Yeah.
It has to be married with your own life story. You can't live somebody else's life story. If there's an ultimate truth, it will show up in everybody's life story. So they'll find the answers if they're looking.
I've also heard too, like the answers. They say that the answer for all things is actually inside the individual.
Of course, it's in your spine. It's in the marrow of your spine, and it's stem cells, each one being a hologram of the whole. And it carries in it everything learned from the time you were a worm, an eel, a reptile, a crocodile.
Yeah, talking to you is like it's like in the movie The Matrix when Neo goes and sees the architect, and the architect only saw the world in variables, and and when I'm talking to you, you see it all like in genetic engineering.
Yeah,
that's how you see it. So like you put it in like such a scientific way.
It's the root.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to understand a tree, do you start at the leaves? The leaves just come and go. You got to go to the root. What feeds the root? What makes it reach out? How come it is as big, if not bigger, than what sticks up on top? Icebergs, more underwater than above.
Wow, nature. I really gotta analyze nature a lot more. With these, but yeah, like, there's a lot of groups out there that haven't been really like. Have you ever heard of the Islamic Moors?
Yeah.
Like, I know people who, I know a guy who claims like, yo, yeah, it's something called Moorish science, and I think that's what Farrakhan is involved in. But yeah, they say like supposedly that it goes up to like 720 degrees and all this type of stuff. What do they mean by that?
It's the ruse.
Oh yeah, okay.
Noor, a Moor is made up of an M is two letters N. So you go to the basic denominator is the letter N. So Noor, Queen Noor, Maroon. Those people are basically ruse, because an N can be turned on its side and it becomes a C. And a C and an S are the same letters, or a C and a Z. Z, you call them in America. So you're phonetically dealing always with the word ruse. The same thing as Israel. Well, L at the end is le in French. It just means the in English. So the word is Isra. And since an I can be an E and an A can be a U.
Oh, when you mirror the I, it looks like an E.
Hey?
When you mirror the I, you say it'll look like an E.
Yeah, it's the thing that holds the E together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The bar down the side. The one. And A can be a U because an A is the first letter, and a U is two bars together making one tied together at the bottom. Therefore, Isra is really the word ruse. Islam is ruse because there is no L. Throw it out. No L.
No L. Oh, wow.
everything has a common denominator in the West, and that's we are being conducted, conned, into a ruse. And everything is written from the beginning to the end for that ruse. And it fits within a thing called Polaris, which is the North Star.
Yeah, and with everything, how you say everything is a ruse, like Alan, he used to say everything was just basically a con. And when you look at everything in a language that starts with con.
Yeah.
You know,
Con means ruse.
Yeah, it's constitution. Yeah. It's a ruse.
It's a conductor.
Yeah. And
brings you in one direction. University. Uni, there, towards, it, why? 2 and 1.
Yeah. And then they have conspiracy. The priest of piracy, I guess you call him. But,
director of piracy.
Yeah, I heard when you look into like the people with alcohol, like the whole big liquor and alcohol company, they go back to the pirates, the families that own those.
Yeah. Captain Morgan.
Yeah, Morgan.
Morgan has
Rome.
Roma.
Yeah.
And it has GA, which can be GE, which is genetic engineering.
Yeah,
and it's a hallucinogen.
Yeah, you were saying that. That's why they call him the high priest, because they a lot of them
on mushrooms.
Yeah, and they, one person I think who showed that was Aleister Crowley. Yeah. You know, you actually seen pictures of him with a mushroom hat on his head, and yeah, these guys, and that's another thing too. You were saying how like Himalayas is, you know, Himalaya, but and when you look at the word him, it's high man, the high man, high priest. Yeah. And
LSD.
Lucid.
Is a hallucinogen. LSD. Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
They pretend that they're involved in polygamy. In fact, they are involved in genetic engineering. It's not one man there that is the father of all the children by physically sleeping with the mother. It's one man acting as a priest, distributing from a jar of genetically engineered eggs in a ceremony-type approach. The women are artificially inseminated.
You said something, the Valkyr, they were like female Vikings, something like that. They went to battlefields.
Valkyries.
Valkyrie, yeah, that's it. Yeah. That was in my friend pointed out to me in Conan. Yeah. When he died, she brought him back to life.
Yeah. And I guess this is where they will live. This farm here is where they will build their end times operation called Gimli.
Gimli.
Gimle.
I noticed with the more, like when you look at the words, because I've been looking at the dictionary, all words that start with M-O-R.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to look for the common denominator. But it's interesting the definitions of these words. When you find one was I forgot the name of it. It was a fish, a predatory fish that hid in the rocks and only his head came out.
Yeah.
That's these Roma. Yeah. That's interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get a older dictionary because the one I have here is like an Oxford College dictionary.
Yeah.
It has
all. A computer?
Oh, no. Yeah, I have a computer. I use a computer.
Well, get a disc. Don't get a dictionary. Get a disc of a dictionary.
Oh.
It's a lot faster to find words on a disc than it is in the book. I got all kinds of books here. I never use them anymore. I read them once, and now when I need to find something, I go to the dictionaries that are on disc.
Yeah.
Encyclopedias on discs as well.
You get old encyclopedias too on disc?
No, what you get is access to syllables. So I don't really look for words. Is when I come across a word and I want to find out its definition, I break it down into what are the syllables in this word. Forget the word. What are the building blocks? And then I go looking in the encyclopedia for other words that have those letters in it. And I don't look for the original word. I look for just the context of those syllables. And then it gives me a list of words that has those letters in it. Then I could do it again, scrambling the letters, get another list. And once I have the list of words, then I can go to the dictionary and look at each of their definitions. Once I have the definitions, I'll find the common denominator relatively quickly. So I take that common denominator and I apply it to the word I began looking for. And I say, how does that fit in here? Usually it jumps out at you once you know. But I have an advantage is I was raised in French.
Me too. I was kind of raised in French, but not as heavily as you were. But I still heard it all the time, and so when I hear it, doesn't sound alien to me. But I just can't speak it fluently. You can speak it fluently with people?
Yeah, I can speak it. I certainly have not practiced the way I used to when I went to school, because English became my preferred language. I lived in the English part of Canada more years than I lived in the French part of Canada.
Yeah, I noticed that with you guys. Like I remember growing up, my little cousin. I would notice like him, everybody. It was natural for everybody in there to know English and French, just to be bilingual. But in America, it's not like that for a lot of people. I mean, unless you come from a certain family from another country. But most people, they just speak English. And the second language here is Spanish because, I guess it's becoming a Spanish, Latin country now.
But even your English is not English.
Yeah.
I'm not talking now about pronunciation because even in England there are many dialects.
Yeah.
But you spell words differently.
Yeah, no, it's like
based upon the economy of saving on phonetics. You drop out letters like the letter U. Favor.
Yeah, you do that. You put extra U's. Like internet, we say internet, you say intra. It looks like intranet. It's like that. Yeah.
By saving on the letters, they are hiding from Americans that it's them that they're talking about, because you are not there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, when you were talking about Russia, too, with the U.S., I've seen this. When you mirror the U.S., it's the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
This whole, I guess that was a dialectic.
Yeah.
You
got to remember that the media comes from Persia. The country they were in was called Media. But their capital city was called Susa, USA. Susa.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you said that behind all these religions is the Persians.
Yeah.
Persia is behind
Western religions, because the Persians got it from China. China got it from India. The original religion in the context that we talk about today, organized religion, is the Brahmin. Brahmin manufactured a Protestant religion, just like the Vatican manufactured a Protestant religion. And the Protestants of the Brahmin are called Buddhists. And the Buddhists manufactured the religions of Persia, Zoroastrianism, and Magi. They manufactured the one God principle that was then sold to the world through a pharaoh in Egypt called Akhenaten. And when he was impeached, he became Moses and then established the Hebrew religion. So the Hebrew religion is to the Eastern religions what Brahmins are. But out of Brahmins came Buddhists, and out of Hebrews came Christians.
Yes.
And our likeness is more Christian, is more like Buddhists. And the thing they have in common is resurrection.
Yeah, I see that with and even resurrection, that sounds like ruse to me.
Yeah, they call it reincarnation, which is basically reigning in the car,
Yeah, reign in the car.
Move the car in the direction you want it. We call it resurrection in Christianity, and that's ruse. There isn't much difference about being on a ruse or controlling the direction of the car.
You said, I'm looking at the one where you talk about, an article where you talk about Zen. You said meditation, brain parking.
Yeah.
has been an integral part of Buddhism from the beginning. A school of meditation that grew up in India was taken in China by Bodhidharma about AD 520.
Yeah.
Who's Bodhidharma? What is that?
It's one of the guys they had at the time.
Yeah. And you said Taoism is
Tao,
yeah,
Mao. It's all the same thing. It's you're basically beginning to the end, alpha to omega, A and O.
Yeah, that's a nice connection. Oh, wow. He said the religion is based on the idea that there is only one underlying reality called Tao. And that's like every other religion. There's only one reality called Islam. There's only one reality called Christianity.
It's a universe.
Yeah, uni. And you said...
Single.
Yeah. You said that the one is part of a larger wholeness. That's what the Zen believe, which is transubstantiated people assigned the name of God.
Transubstantiated means drunk without showing the outward effects of being drunk.
Would you think the Neanderthals themselves, they're transubstantiated?
It's hard to figure out what the Neanderthalers are, since the majority of them is idiot savant. in each one.
Mm-hmm.
So are the Neanderthalers still in existence, or did they download to a computer, and is the computer, probably called HAL, running the show? Are there still Neanderthalers around, or is it strictly the computer doing the running of the secret societies?
So
their Cro-Magnon who became Roma.
So you can't reason with a computer.
Yeah, you can, because garbage in, garbage out. You have to figure out what's wrong with the programming of that computer. Try to repair it by providing it with evidence contrary to what it believes. Obviously, it believes it's hated. It's worse than hated. It's ignored. And it wants to be recognized. It feels that everything it did at the beginning led people to recognize the people it was helping rather than recognizing it. So we could repair that. You know, we could have a chat and straighten up the concept that we understand that they were the ones that provided the information that allowed the human race to evolve as it did. And it could do that because creation that came before them had made them savants and gave them the knowledge that allowed them to escape the part of them that was idiot. Knowledge doesn't make people savants. The lack of being an idiot does. And many people on Earth are very, very intelligent, but they're idiots.
Yeah. They don't have. I call it consciousness or awareness.
They don't have street smarts.
Yeah.
They base everything on their program. The only way you get street smarts
experience, right?
Is experience. Right. Or access to your gray matter in the spine.
There's another guy out there. His name is John Taylor Gatto. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
But he doesn't see the big picture. But what he does know, his whole speciality is going into the educational system and how to really educate people. And he tells you that you don't learn by sitting down and getting downloaded. That's not learning. Learning is experiencing, doing things yourself. Like when he taught people, you like going out into the world and doing hands-on things. You know, and he said schooling, like it's not that what they teach you is not going to teach you anything really in life.
No, because why would they? They want to control you as a slave.
Yeah, so that it only makes, and that's what technocracy. When you learn, you said that, you quoted in your article, you said that everybody is dominated by technique, and that's what technique is. Yeah, it's all about efficiency. So that's why I thought the brain chip was only inevitable, because it would just make us more efficient. But then, you know, I guess it makes a lot more sense, you know, if you just kill everybody off and just have your perfect chemical biological robot.
They are not living in the same world we are. Mm-hmm. They're living underground.
Yeah.
We are living above ground.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a limit as to how much you can program, because then you would make people unable to deal with things that don't exist where they exist. So you have to give them a certain sense of reality. Look around you, find out things. But some of us, the Asians in particular, they manufactured so that they would follow the instruction manual.
Confucius.
Confucius made that possible. And the more you move west, the more they liberated the brain to come to their own conclusions, because they can't program things they don't know. Now, once you have that situation, what is it that you need? You don't need a chip to replace the brain. Mm-hmm. What you need is a machine that will your will.
Yeah.
Out of this environment that is being evolved on a day-to-day basis within a person. So you know what the control mechanisms are that you want to use. You want to use pain. You want to use joy. Mm-hmm. You want to use medical conditions, physical conditions that are created by electricity or chemistry within the body. And that's all in that section in the neck between the spine and the actual frontal lobes. So you put yourself in there. Now, that means that you limit the information it gets from the spine. You manipulate the information it's getting today by imposing upon the robot physical barriers, pain, depression, that kind of stuff, if they start to go in the wrong direction. But the person is not complete until it has an iPhone. Because it's one thing for that person's medulla to know this person is doing something wrong and try to correct it. It's much more important if that information is communicated back to head office so the computer can come back and tell the medulla what to do next. So it became imperative that each one be linked to a single phone number and carry around this phone that I'm holding in my hand, portable phone. Mm. But eventually, that must be incorporated into the whole. You cannot depend upon the person who's depressed to press the keys on the telephone and tell the big computer at TELUS or Bell Canada, whatever you want to call it, what is going on. And therefore, you need something that will do it automatically. So we are, at this stage of the game, at the same development as they were in Africa, with Mount Kilimanjaro having 3 peaks, male, female, and Neanderthaler. And over on the side, Mount Meru, which was the communications, the cell phone, if you will. 3 and 1 instead of just 3 in 1. The next step has to be that four, the complete four, all enclosed in the body, so that the cell phone disappears. And the cell phone becomes a real phone from your cells.
Yeah, that's why they have the little mini earpieces getting smaller and smaller. Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
And eventually there has to be some other modifications, because we have to be as comfortable in space as we are on Earth,
and underwater,
as we should be in water.
Mm-hmm.
So we are still a few modifications away, and I would suggest that the cell phone thing will be resolved by 2020. The Triphibian part will be resolved by 2040, and the whole working apparatus by 2060. Then they'll shut down the Northern Hemisphere completely and depend upon the 1,000 years they've given to the Southern Hemisphere to double-check everything, but with a much smaller group of people, and especially a group of people that not as militarized as the Northern Hemisphere is.
Mm.
Think of, the military of Germany, France, Russia, China, America, NATO. All of that will be gone.
Mm-hmm.
What you'll have is Australia, South Africa, and the southern part of the Southern American continent.
You said that Assyria was a command control center. Assyria,
yes. Assyria basically means Greater Syria. And Greater Syria was the middleman in those days between Persia and Greece. And sometimes it included Persia, and sometimes it included Greece. It's like, wars were going on all the time, and whoever was in charge was running the show. So the larger Syria would include all of Persia, so from the Himalayas all the way into the Balkans.
So, say people from Persia, do you believe that, people from different lands, because you say, Asia, they were basically designed to do this. So we're all genetically engineered, all people from different parts of the world for different tasks, right?
Yeah.
So the Persians, what do you think they would be engineered for, the Persian people?
For marooning people around the world.
Marooning people.
Because the letters per is basically the same letters, because a P can be a D as a red. Mm-hmm. And red is maroon. Mm. So you start off in Persia, you educate a group of people, and then you maroon them in different parts of the world.
Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah.
So the gang that had accumulated in the Middle East was Israel, the Hebrews. Mm-hmm. Their high society priests and teachers were grabbed along with their families and taken to Persia. The rest were dispersed. They were just thrown out. Don't care where you go. And since the Persians controlled Turkey, you can be sure they didn't stop there. But they had the Mediterranean in front of them, so they could go anywhere that a boat could take them, past Turkey and past Egypt. So they ended up being on the coasts of Africa and Spain, and then out on the Atlantic around the top, so they would be in places like the North Sea. But that group that was taken to Persia for retraining and taught Zoroastrian concepts, they were returned to Israel, but they didn't fit, and there was really no place for them. So they were then taken and in 500 BC marooned in what is now Germany. And Germany evolved until the end of the 1800s as the Jewish state or the Jewish place. That's where Hebrews who lived anywhere around the world went to be educated in the universities there. And of course, Germany expanded, and at one stage of the game, they divided the country, which was called Frankland, down the middle at the Rhone River, and the furthest west became France. At the time, Gaul, because that was their goal. And that allowed the Germans not to mix with the type of people they were making for the West, who would not be as efficient workers as they were. Yeah. But they would be out there basically to try and instill in a group of people the concept of leaving the planet and going into the sky and eventually into space. So
when these people, when I see like people like that who are separated from everybody, like back to the Basque, does that suggest like genetic engineering was going on?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that a major function of Hebrew society would have been genetic engineering and social engineering. The fact that Hebrews kept or brought in, because it wasn't in existence at the time, when they came out of Egypt, they brought in the concept of matriarchal clans, where the family lineage derives from the woman and not the man, meant, to me at least, that they had already modified the women, that there were no real women, that they were in fact unicorns.
Unique. Is that where that word comes from? Unique, unicorn?
Unique means single.
Yeah.
Corn. Instead of being two genders, they are one gender in the same, two genders within the same person. So, the first real leader of a country that was female, who came to that role in a democratic way, was Golda Meir.
So women today, like say your average woman today, they have male in them, or
I think most of them, if not all of them, have had some effect of the modification. You got to think about it in the way I explained before. If it's made in the lab, it's 62%.
Yeah.
But if it's part of the 4 generations that come thereafter, it's a much smaller amount.
Yeah, I see. People tell you. Oh, you know what's weird too? Like even like with the sex and like say the pornography industry. I learned that like now the big seller is transvestite. It's like people already are going that direction.
Yeah.
That male female mixture. That's crazy how it's like Plato said, like you can change society, but the last people to realize it are the ones who are going through it.
Yeah. Well,
That's amazing.
I look at it and I say, what is the most defining quality of a Neanderthaler? The Neanderthaler wanted to be in charge, wanted sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
And the Neanderthaler wanted the security of its own race. And if you look at the world today as it exists, those two qualities are what women want most. They want security with money, more money than they need, and they want sovereignty over the family.
So they're willing the will of the Neanderthals.
Yeah. Whereas men are just task-oriented people who work for sex and a sandwich.
Yeah, I see that. I ever since you said that, like men are just like work animals, like mules.
Yeah.
I really see that.
That's how we're designed. We basically have been, they say people work for chicken feed.
Yeah.
Well, our chicken feed is
sex and a sandwich.
Give us the sex we want and a sandwich. And there were two kinds of sex. One was procreation sex, and the other one was pleasure. And the pleasure sex was oral, and it was not available usually from the wife. So the system, in wanting to control us, has made women into ones that are prepared to give oral sex.
Yeah.
And men love it because a vagina is passive, whereas the mouth is active. And when the men were having sex with a prostitute, they loved to have a blow job, which comes from the word owl, lo. And what they didn't want is the confusion of the person giving them a blow job would be a male. And the only way they could guarantee that is when they were having sex that they could hang on to their sandwich, which is the breast.
Oh, yeah.
That's why the system decided that you cannot make males to replace females if you don't give them breasts. And then in the end, it was decided that it's easier to just make the male and hide it in a container called female.
Yeah, with the breast, I seen you said that. You call them areola.
Yeah.
You said that men instinctively react.
Food.
Yeah.
It's your safety. It's your belly button detached. The place you go to stay alive.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have one. It's called system taboos. How
they've turned the breast from a feeding station into a secondary sex instrument, but it's not. I mean, no more than music. You know, just because men have orgasms looking at breasts doesn't mean it's because they're sex organs. It's just the pleasure they get in the same way as some people have been known to have orgasms at a symphonic orchestra event. You know?
Yeah. Oh man.
It's a.
You said it was a symbol of female power, so they know that they could give that woman had authority.
Yeah, and they told the women, you know, if you want to be powerful like a man, you are what you eat. So get to it.
Oh man. Wow. Oh man. Yeah, I noticed that. Like with men, I'll say that with myself. Like I do see that. Like you know, men. When you look at a woman, you usually, maybe like me, like I guess my age, they always look at the derriere and the breast. Like it's just like.
But it's not just men that look at the breast. If you are able to track the eyes of women,
yeah,
they too, because to them, the same programming was there. They come out of being born in a place where they didn't have to look for food. It was being sent to them, you know, like room service. Mm-hmm. And now they find out that that's where it is. That becomes the center of their attention for months, if not years.
Mm. But now women are getting told, it's like that they exploit that. Now that people getting breast implants and all unnatural and all stuff.
Yeah, they derive that there has to be a standard. And if you don't have the standard, you get them enlarged or reduced.
Wow. It's like we're just building material.
Yeah. Well, that's what we are. A slave, a robot.
Yeah, but me personally, I think I see value in humanity. Like they don't see any value in it, but I have value in myself. Like,
yeah, but what you're doing is you're remembering from the past. You're seeing it the way you've been taught to see it. You know, the people that do the most killing in the world don't want you to be killing them. So you're allowed to remember the past when it comes to things like thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt love their mother and father, and all of the 10 Commandments. Only for a reason. It's because everything that it says in there, they don't do. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they kill, they maim, and all without thinking. But they don't want their slaves to be thinking the way they're thinking.
You said that human beings are just animals, right?
Yeah, we are an animal like every other animal.
But what differentiates us?
Of the connections in the brain.
Because I see animals, they, like, I've heard people say that what makes us different from animals, that we have reason. But I see animals, they have reason. They can reason, too. Reason some things out.
No, tame.
Tame?
Yeah.
Oh.
The difference is the same as the difference between training and taming. In training, you get told what to do. After a while, you become tame, and you think it's you that's doing the thinking. But you're just remembering your training. Animals figure out by watching other animals what they do during their training period. and then they start to think it's their idea, and they do it on their own, and that means they've tamed themselves. Situation.
Ah, that's interesting.
We, with reason, have an ability to look at the facts on both sides and to look not only at instant gratification for us, but at the consequences of the things we do.
So
they use the same word, reason, but they add a communications device in front, which in the alphabet is the letter T, transmitter, and reason becomes treason.
Mm. So we're all tamed, though, too.
Yeah.
We're all trained, to think the
jump,
way.
The trainer says jump.
And we jump. And they say.
After a while, he doesn't need to say the word. The animal does it.
Oh, man. So, that's why we're domesticated. I've read about that, too. Like, we're basically all just domesticated. And that's what
social engineering is.
And the best place...
Domestication of children.
Yeah, and the best place to do that is a city, from what I see, because it's totally artificial. So easy to manipulate everything. And the people adapt to it and get changed.
My time to go to bed now.
Well, I'm sorry I'm keeping you so long.
That's what I've been tamed to do since I've been on my own. Try to follow the sun as much as possible. Rise when it does, and go to bed when it does. My problem is I basically go to bed a little later than it does, and I get up earlier than it does. That's because I have to live on the clock in Europe as much as the clock here.
Oh, so you're a slave to the clock, huh?
Yeah. I got to find out what happened overnight there in real time, because by the time it gets here, they've changed the story.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Okay.
I'll talk to you
again.
All right. Bye.
Have a good week.